Welcome to the deep dive. We've got Loren Landau's book, Ultimate Conditioning for Martial Arts, and we're going to pull out the key stuff for you.
Yeah, and Landa's background is, well, it's pretty wild.
Seriously impressive, right? Trained over 500 pros, UFC, NFL, MLB, Olympians, you name it.
Mm-hmm. And he's the strength coach on The Ultimate Fighter, too.
And the whole MMA angle apparently kicked off because of Brendan Schaub, who wrote the foreword.
Which is interesting, right? Seeing someone with such broad elite sports experience dive deep into MMA conditioning specifically, it tells you something about the approach.
Exactly. So our mission here is to get you some actionable insights, how to actually approach conditioning for martial arts, whatever your level. We want to break down Lando's structured stuff.
Make it usable.
Yeah. Let's start with something foundational, that whole 10,000-hour rule idea. Malcolm Gladwell's famous for it. Landau brings it up too, basically saying mastery in conditioning, like skill, takes consistent work.
Absolutely. And the key isn't just the 10,000 hours. It's the relentless consistency. That's what Landau sees in all those top athletes. Just showing up, putting in focused effort, non-negotiable.
Okay, so digging in. Landau talks about these biomotor abilities.
Right. Speed, agility, power, strength, flexibility, balance, coordination, conditioning, the whole package.
And he flags strength as being kind of foundational, like you build power and speed on top of it. How does that work?
Well, think of strength as your engine's potential force. Power is how fast you can use that force. And speed is, well, how fast you move.
Okay.
So if you don't have much base strength, you just can't generate as much power, and your speed potential is lower. It's like trying to launch a rocket with a weak engine. Doesn't matter how streamlined it is.
Gotcha. Good analogy. Now, flexibility. We hear about that all the time in martial arts. High kicks, grappling escapes.
Mm-hmm.
But Landau says it's not just about being Gumby. It's strength within that flexibility. Mobility and stability, he calls it. Why is that difference important?
It's huge. Being super flexible without the strength to control that range can actually set you up for injuries. Mobility is the range you've got. Stability is controlling yourself in that range. Landau really pushes for active dynamic warm-ups, not just sitting in static stretches before you train.
Why is that?
Well, the thinking is, and some research backs this up, dynamic warm-ups prep your muscles for the kind of active, changing movements you do in martial arts. They seem to reduce injury risk and might even let you produce more power right off the bat.
So holding a hamstring stretch for like a minute right before sparring, maybe not the best idea.
Probably not optimal, no. It might temporarily reduce your muscle's ability to generate force quickly.
Interesting. Okay, then there's balance. You don't always hear that discussed first in conditioning talks. Landau says it's about your senses and reacting to stuff. How vital is it, really?
Oh, it's absolutely fundamental. Think about it. Open fighting stances, clinching.
Yeah.
You're constantly adjusting.
Yeah.
It's not just about not falling over. It's about efficient movement, reacting, setting up attacks, defending takedowns, and strength plays a big part, especially, like you said, in the clinch. Being strong helps you resist being pushed or pulled off balance.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch to the engine room, the energy systems. Landau lays out three: alactic, lactic, and aerobic. He calls alactic jet fuel for those super short bursts.
Exactly. The alactic or phosphagen system gives you massive power for, say, 10, maybe 20 seconds max. Think an explosive takedown, a flurry of powerful strikes.
Okay, jet fuel. Burns quick.
Burns very quick.
Yeah.
And takes a while to refill.
Yeah.
Then you've got the lactic or glycolytic system.
Right.
That kicks in for high-intensity stuff lasting, maybe 20 seconds up to 90 seconds or so. Think sustained scrambling or hard clinch work. This is where you feel that burn, the lactate buildup.
Right, got it. And the third?
That's the aerobic system, your long-haul engine. Uses oxygen, fuels lower-intensity activity for extended periods. Think road work or just lasting through multiple rounds.
And Landau's point is you need to train all three, even if a lot of martial arts feels like it hammers one or two.
Precisely. A real fight, or even just high-level training, bounces between all three systems. You need that explosive power, lactic, the ability to keep going hard, lactic, and the base endurance to not gas out, aerobic. Just sparring might not optimally hit that super short, high-power lactic system, for example.
So you got to be specific sometimes.
Yeah, targeted training for each system is key for well-rounded conditioning.
Okay. Now, adaptation. Landau talks about how you don't just get steadily better. There's that initial dip sometimes, neural fatigue, and then the importance of deloading.
Right. Training is stress. Initially, especially with intense nervous system work, you might see a slight performance drop. That's fatigue setting in. But then, if you allow for recovery, your body adapts. It overcompensates, it builds back stronger. Those deload weeks or lighter recovery periods are crucial. That's when the actual gains happen. Your body rebuilds and consolidates the improvements.
So the gains happen when you rest, not just when you grind.
Exactly. That's why athletes taper before a big competition, to shed fatigue and realize all the fitness they've built during hard training blocks.
Fascinating. Okay, shifting slightly. Landau quotes Stephen Plusk. To be a better specialist, one must be a better generalist. He applies that to instructors needing broad athletic knowledge. What's the takeaway for someone listening?
It basically means having a solid foundation across the board makes you better at your specific thing. For a martial artist, it means don't just focus on technique. Develop your general athleticism, strength, speed, endurance. It raises your potential ceiling.
Be a better athlete, be a better fighter.
In essence, yeah. And for coaches, it means understanding programming, biomotor skills, all that stuff, to actually help their students improve beyond just the specific moves.
So how do you get a handle on that generalist base? Landau lists some fitness evaluations: vertical jump, plank test, Apley scratch test, squat test, single leg hop. What are these telling us?
They give you a snapshot of different physical qualities: vertical jump, explosive leg power, plank test, core stability, super important for transferring power, Apley scratch, shoulder mobility, crucial for striking and grappling ranges.
Right.
Squat test checks hip, knee, ankle mobility, your base. Single leg hop looks at knee stability, control, important for agility and injury prevention.
Like a quick physical MOT.
And he stresses consistent testing, right? Same warm-up, same order, and retesting.
Yeah, consistency is vital so you can actually trust the results and see if you're progressing. Keep the variables the same. Retesting, maybe 2-3 times a year, often after a deload or recovery phase, lets you see the results of your training blocks.
Makes sense. Okay, the warm-up. We all do it, but Landau sees it as more than just getting sweaty. It's a chance to develop those biomotor abilities. He even mentions the stages of learning skills.
Right, that unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence model. His point is, if you consciously focus on how you're moving in your warm-up, understanding the why behind the exercises,
you can actually improve those fundamental movement patterns faster. It becomes skill practice, not just pulse raising. You ingrain better movement, which then supports your martial arts skills.
so the warm-up is actual training time, not just prep time.
Exactly. And he also mentions that structured warm-up routine, becoming a valuable pre-competition ritual, helps focus, gets you in the zone.
Like flipping a switch. Okay, he lists a bunch of dynamic exercises, quadruped stuff, cat-cow, bird-dog, leg cradle, toe touches, skips. Lots of movement. What's the theme?
The theme is active, controlled movement through ranges of motion. You're not just passively stretching, you're activating muscles, improving mobility, boosting coordination, warming up the joints dynamically. It's about preparing the body for complex athletic actions.
Gotcha. Active and dynamic. And he says doing this consistently helps build those base athletic abilities. Even talks about transit mobility for speed and agility foundations.
Yeah, it all connects. Better movement quality from your warm-up translates to better athletic potential. And cooldowns aren't just an afterthought either. Important for bringing the body back down, restoring range of motion, maybe some light activation or dynamic flexibility.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty conditioning programs. Landau keeps it fairly simple. Max heart rate, RPE, resting heart rate. How do these help?
They're practical tools. Max heart rate, roughly 220 minus age, gives you zones to target intensity. RPE rate of perceived exertion, that 110 scale is great for subjective effort, especially when intensity varies, like in sparring.
Right. How hard does it feel?
Exactly. And tracking resting heart rate over time can be a useful indicator of your recovery and overall fitness level. If it starts creeping up, maybe you need more rest.
Good indicators. Now, aerobic training. Running is common. He talks duration, heart rate zones. What are the basics for building that aerobic base?
Consistency, gradual progression. Start maybe 2-3 times a week, 12-20 minutes, aiming for like 130, 150 BPM. As you adapt, increase duration. And smartly, he suggests integrating more specific stuff like shadow boxing or light rolling into your aerobic work as you get fitter. Blends tactical and base work, helps avoid just piling on endless sessions.
And he distinguishes aerobic capacity from aerobic power.
Yeah. Capacity is about duration at lower intensity, your endurance engine. Power is sustaining higher aerobic intensity for shorter periods.
How do you train that power part?
He gives an example, like interval treadmill work. Run for 5 minutes at maybe 145, 150 BPM, then 2 minutes active recovery, much lower heart rate, repeat a few times. Pushes that upper aerobic limit.
Got it. Now, anaerobic. Lactic capacity versus lactic power. What's the difference there?
Lactic capacity is about sustaining effort near that burn threshold for longer, maybe 90 to 180 seconds. Think hard rounds with short rest. Lactic power is shorter, very high-intensity bursts, but with more rest to recover between efforts, like maximal sprints or explosive drills.
Okay, capacity is sustaining, power is bursting, and the last one, lactic, the jet fuel, super intense, super short, slow to recover.
Exactly. Max effort, up to maybe 20 seconds. Things like Olympic lifts, short sprints, resisted sprints, plyos, and the key Landau hammers home is the rest. Because it refuels slowly, you need significant recovery, maybe 3 minutes, between maximal lactic efforts to really train that system effectively. Otherwise, power drops off.
So you can't just do burst after burst after burst and expect it to be peak lactic training.
Not true lactic training, no. You need that recovery to hit peak power repeatedly.
This is great detail. So how do you structure all this? Program planning, periodization. Lando says it's vital for maximizing gains, avoiding burnout, peaking right. Sounds complex. Where do you start?
It can seem complex, but periodization is just organizing training over time. He outlines the cycles. Quadrennial, 4 years, like for Olympics. Macrocycle, usually a year. Mesocycle, maybe 3-4 weeks. Microcycle, a week. Down to the workout. It gives structure.
Short plan?
Yeah. Long-term vision, short-term focus. He also mentions cybernetic periodization. Sounds fancy.
What's that?
It's basically blending objective data test results, weights lifted with subjective feedback, like your RPE, how you feel. It makes the plan adaptable. You listen to your body, adjust as needed, not just blindly following the numbers.
More flexible. I like that. And the typical phases in a year, GPP, SPP, competition, peaking. What's the focus shift?
GPP, general physical preparation, is building the broad base. Work capacity, general strength, endurance, wide foundation.
Okay.
SPP, specific physical preparation, gets more targeted. Strength and power become more specific to martial arts movement.
Sharpening the tools.
Right. Competition phase blends everything, focusing on fight readiness. Peaking and maintenance is about hitting peak form for an event and then holding it, often prioritizing speed and recovery.
He also makes a really practical point. Look at your actual weekly schedule. Martial arts takes time. Maybe 2-3 conditioning sessions are enough. Maybe tag conditioning onto the end of technique class.
Absolutely crucial. You have to be realistic. You can't just add a pro athlete's conditioning program on top of multiple martial arts classes a week. It has to integrate, not overload. 2-3 focused sessions, maybe some conditioning finishers after class. That's often a smart approach.
Finding the balance. And lastly, he mentions linear periodization. Good for beginners.
Yeah, traditional linear is often simpler to start with. Usually involves starting with higher volume, lower intensity, then gradually shifting less volume, higher intensity as you get closer to a goal or competition. A straightforward progression.
Okay. So pulling it all together, what's the big picture Landau paints for martial arts conditioning?
I think the core idea is that it's a journey, right? It needs consistent, smart work. It's about understanding the pieces, the bimotor skills, energy systems, adaptation, recovery, and then tailoring a plan using periodization that fits you and your martial art, working alongside your technical training. It's not just about being strong or fast or having endurance. It's about developing the right mix for your needs.
Well, thank you for taking this deep dive with us into Loren Landau's ultimate conditioning for martial arts. Hopefully breaking down these concepts, biomotor abilities, energy systems, adaptation, planning, gives you a solid framework.
Yeah, remember, consistent, smart training, covering all these bases is really how you make progress.
So here's something to chew on. Thinking about those 3 energy systems, lactic, aerobic, how dominant is each one in your specific martial art? And based on that, how could you maybe tweak your conditioning to really boost performance where it counts the most for you?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely. Let us know your thoughts or if you have questions. Your feedback helps us figure out future deep dives. Until next time, keep learning, keep training smart.